Okay, good evening and welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting for the Pearl L. Crawford Memorial Library. As is customary, we'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
You're gonna sit on your hat.
Oh, yes, please. I'll move it over here in front. I won't forget it. I'd like to begin just ad-libbing a bit and thank everyone who's been a part of the multiple meetings that we've had in the last few weeks. It's been a busy period for us, as those of you are here tonight know, with a lot of things going on, a lot of irons in the fire. I would try to be optimistic and think that maybe we have a light at the end of the tunnel. So bear with us and keep coming. Thank you. I see that we have a number of dates. That's our first agenda item. Review of minutes for, again, multiple meetings. This kind of speaks to the issue I just mentioned. Anyone have any questions or concerns, comments, or omissions, deletions regarding November 8th meeting? Does everyone have a copy of or familiar with those? All right. We want a minute or so to review them, or are we ready to move on?
Okay, some of them are brand new, so.
Right, okay.
Actually, we can do them one at a time if you want. If you want to do the November 8th, I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so November 2nd is in the history books. We have November 27th.
Actually, we did get these in advance, so I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of the 27th.
All right, any discussion? Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we have the 27th now. And it looks like the next up is the 6th of December. I, be honest, don't see that I have the 6th of December here.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I correct, I do have it, thank you. All right.
I motion to accept the meeting minutes from December 6th.
I'll second.
Second, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the motion carries. Well, we're knocking these down pretty quickly here. That was the 6th, so now we're on to the 12th.
Actually, it was the 11th.
I'm sorry, the 11th. Okay, so noted. Okay. I do have minutes for the 11th. Everyone, I hope, has corresponding minutes for the 11th of December. All righty.
Harrison?
Harrison, good evening.
Sorry, I'm late.
Okay. We're, right now, for consideration, we have the Tuesday, December 11th minutes. On your agenda, you may see it as December 12th. You hopefully have a copy of that there.
Oh, did I do that? I wrote December 12th.
I didn't
That's
realize
okay.
it until just before we.
The one you'd be looking for.
December 11th minute meetings. I said that wrong, but hang on, I need maybe some room.
And once they're approved, do you need to give a copy of
Mhm.
it? Yeah.
Did town clerk.
Give
Usually
Harrison a
after the
moment.
meeting, I usually would just leave it in the mailbox, just see if she has it.
Oh, okay.
I can show you what that
All
is.
right. I motion to accept the meeting minutes from December 11th, 2018.
Second?
Any discussion? Harrison, have you had a chance to peruse those? Okay. Okay,
And
all
I
right.
just want
Well,
to thank, I want to thank Pat for making the suggestion that we post in the Connecticut job website. I think
Mhm.
that was definitely a beneficial
Yeah.
thing for us to do.
All righty, in regards to the minutes, all those, motion made and seconded, no discussion, anyone, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so passed. All right. So, item 1 of our agenda, we are current with our minutes. Catching up there, okay. Monthly library reports, programs, and events.
Excuse me.
A number of things
Oh,
here.
I'm drinking soda, so. can
I
pick it up?
I'm hoping everyone has seen or has copies, seen copies rather, of program numbers for November and program numbers for December 2018.
Can I have an extra copy printed of those?
Here, you can take this one if you can. These,
Thank you.
I'm not sure, does anyone have any sense of whether those numbers are consistent with what we might have been seeing last year or not, or?
Yeah, they seem to be. I did look at some of the past minutes, and they seem to be consistent, pretty much. I think we just need to get a format similar to what we've been seeing in the past, and I think because 2 different people
You
are
wanna check these
generating
out?
Right.
numbers, we just need to sit down with Pam and Tasha and see if we can get it all put into one place.
The forest is in jeopardy.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Okay, yeah, we need to coordinate things just a bit
Coordinate
better.
it, yeah, that's-
I think, to give some credit to the folks involved,
Mhm.
they are making effort and they
Oh,
are
for
putting
sure.
forth some interesting information, and they
Yeah.
are trying to provide us with current data, so I
Mhm.
think that they're to be certainly commended for that. Formatting, would you want to take that on, maybe to meet with them
Sure,
and see if we can
sure.
come up with something that
Format,
is
yeah.
is more familiar, and something that will allow us to print it out.
Well,
in a-
similar to what Karen was doing, we just want to make it, the most important
Right.
thing for that is to keep that format going, because I'm sure that's what she used for the ARIS report when that comes along in the fall.
Okay,
Yeah.
And
that
it's
makes
going to be
sense.
critical to have,
Yep.
have those numbers.
Good. Good
in
point.
that- Yeah, in that format.
all righty, so hopefully we'll see those changes at least gradually implemented and get back
Yeah.
to where we were with
Yeah,
formatting.
actually, I was thinking of recommending that Ben have like a monthly meeting, Ben and Pam, just call them in like Karen would do once a month.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, that's a good thought, too.
yeah.
We have, everyone have copies of the budget then for 2019, FY 2019?
That I don't have.
That was on the back of
I have it on my
Tasha's.
phone.
Oh, right.
One of those. I got bits and pieces of things here, so we'll pass those along. I noted, one of them, I think equipment, we had overspent the budget already, but then I
Yeah,
realized
yeah.
this is an FY 19 budget, so it begins in July. It's not January, which is what
Right.
most of us traditionally think of in terms of the year beginning.
Right,
And that was what, $239 or something of that?
279,
$279?
yeah.
Uh, Given all that goes on, it's surprised it's that small
Mhm.
amount, really. Seems like there's opportunity for a lot more equipment needs than that.
Right.
Anyone have any questions or concerns with regards to the budget as?
We seem to be pretty much on target with
Mhm.
the time of year.
That's the impression that I had as well. Obviously, things happen and there has to be change from time
Right.
to time.
Yeah. Utilities will, over the next 2 months, will probably catch
No-
up.
I noticed some 0 temperatures, I think, in
Yeah.
the forecast, so yeah, we'll be catching up. And that brings us, thank you, right on cue, to facilities.
Yeah.
A couple of things that have been sort of in the background, and maybe I'm jumping a bit to the HVAC system. That's certainly part of facilities, and if
Mhm.
everyone's in agreement, we'll make that leap. 2 things that have been kind of working in my mind is, one is a concern on my part with regards to cost of some of the services we've been receiving or likely to receive regards to the HVAC system.
Mhm.
And I think I did send an email out to everyone. I had checked with someone who has some experience, some years of experience in the field, and the indication I got from that person was what we were getting, that to them looked to be a bargain with regards to the Renault contract.
I guess what I want to know is, where are we in our contract with Renault?
It's due
Where-
for renewal in May.
So that's what I wanted to know is, so it's due for renewal in May.
Right.
So what typically happens in the town, this will be my first time with this, through this process, what happens when we're due for a renewal? Do we put it out to bid?
What I understand is, we have, for the agreement, we have, it looks like it's an optional second year for the same pricing that we've received for the
Mhm.
first year.
Yep.
An optional third year for, again, the same pricing that we received.
Where are we in those years, though? What year are we?
This agreement was signed on 5/16 of 2018.
Oh, okay.
So the first year will be concluding in
Mhm.
May of 2019,
Mhm.
if what I have is correct, and I believe it to be so. Beginning of the effective date for some part of this was July 1st of 2019. I'm not sure what that means in regards to the coverage. But in any event, it looks like this was discussed, or at least was put together with the thought that there would be a 3-year agreement. And frankly, given the fact that the pricing is the same for each of the 3 years, my thought, and that's strictly mine, is that that's probably a pretty good deal, given
Right.
what I was able to find out from someone who is, I would say, expert in the field.
And someone who's familiar with the system, that has a lot to do with it, because the system that we have, and that goes a little bit to what you asked me about, Richard. When we, we didn't decide, we hired contractors, and there were electrical people and all sorts of people who put together the bidding process for this, and they made the recommendations. We had choices, they reviewed everything with us, and
Mhm.
we determined that that was probably gonna be the way to go. Now, one of the things that was a big consideration for us was becoming LEED certified, which
Mhm.
means we were a green building essentially, because at that time, Deval Patrick was the governor of Mass, and he had a green incentive program. And if you received even base level certification, LEED certification, you could get a 5% reimbursement, which would be $100,000 minimum, based on the amount of money that they funded you. And ours was, I think, 2.3 million that the state gave us as part of our grant, our building grant. That gave us $150,000 that came back to us for
Mhm.
receiving LEED certification.
Mhm.
So
And have we maintained LEED certification since then?
once you receive it, that's it, because it's the whole process of building. Like, you can't put sprinklers in.
Mhm.
There's just a lot. You have to basically hire someone. You have pages and pages of certification
Mhm.
levels that you have to meet.
Yep.
And so we did have someone who went through all of that for us and made sure that everything that we put into our building,
Mhm.
the paint, everything,
Yep.
met, the carpeting, met that LEED
Mhm.
specification, so.
I know it's trite to say, but I did Google green
Mhm.
building.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah,
there.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have people that do that just as their job.
It
and-
is,
Oh,
yeah.
there's a whole
Absolutely.
certification
Yeah,
process.
we hired
and,
someone to do
you know,
that,
It's,
yeah.
it is quite involved.
Mhm.
And it looks like Renault has been part of that program. And again, my feeling right now is that they will likely continue to be.
Yes. One thing I thought of, Richard, based on your question, was I think once we have a new director on board, it would probably be worthwhile for the director, the trustees, and invite Anne Marie Safi, who was head of the whole building process, and Ben, and I can sit on it because I was there not at the very beginning, but through a whole
Mhm.
part of it. And just sit down and talk about the process. I've been weeding out paperwork at home, and I kept a lot of things from that building process. And I know they're here they're at the library too, so I
Okay.
decided, well, it's time to make some space in my file cabinets. But there was about a foot of paper, and it reminded me of how much work went in and how many people that were working on this process well before I became involved. who were committed and, you know, really made it all happen, and it's amazing. We owe much appreciation to the folks who got the process going and saw it through to the end, so.
Yeah, I didn't realize we were a green building.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just as a comment, I happened to attend the legislative breakfast on January
yes.
11th, and one of the speakers there was the new town manager in Webster.
Oh.
And he made comment of the fact that in a way, he wished the building was still under construction, because now that the construction's concluded, there's a lot of paperwork that he has to go through that he didn't have to deal with before the building was completed. And he was kind of wishing that they could go back in time a bit. It was a little facetious, but it was kind of interesting. You mentioned that foot of paperwork, and I assume he's probably dealing with something pretty similar to that. So I'm not sure, Joyce, if we answered your questions, your concerns about that?
I just don't wanna, I just don't know that, like, I wanna know, like, when do you put out a bid? To see what other people, you know, you say it's the best deal, but you really don't know that it's
No, we
the
don't.
best deal.
One of the things, and I'm not trying to talk you down on this, but one of the things is, and Pat's mentioned to me in a number of emails, that we have a system that is somewhat unique. And these folks have
to the
at least the
United States.
experience and the involvement with the system. And just to bring back the thought that I mentioned in the email I sent earlier, when I, discussed this with this individual that I happen to know, and this person was a facilities director at one of the larger universities in the state, and he said, "Is that all?" The number that was his reaction, frankly, to the number. Is that
But he
all?
hasn't seen our system.
No, he hasn't seen our system, but then he went in to explain to me what the kinds of things were that they were doing, what the industry standard was in terms of the cost involved with those things. And frankly, I lost conversation because I couldn't follow all of where he was going to. But it basically, in my mind, bottom line with "is that all?" is the comment that he made. And again, I note that we do have the same pricing for the 3-year period. So
That I
there may
definitely,
be,
3 years, I get that. If it's the
there
same
may
price, they
be,
didn't
and
increase.
I don't think you get that very often, frankly. I mean, usually there's some kind
And
of.
that's in writing?
That is,
In writing?
it's,
Contract.
yes, it is, yep.
Mhm.
And that's something that generally there'd be some kind of a comment or an asterisk or something to a
Yep.
price adjustment
You're right.
based on
It
whatever.
usually is,
you
yeah.
are right.
Yeah.
So in any event, we are with them now. When and if, and hopefully soon, we resolve the directorship issue, we may have a chance to revisit that. We still have 4 or so months to go. I'm sure there are other companies that can provide similar services. And we might even ask the new director, when one is in place, to see if they could research a bit
Yeah.
what kind of a bidding process we might have gone through
Yeah.
back whenever we made this decision to go with Renault.
I think part of it is the town uses Renault too, this building, is that correct? Yeah, and have
Oh.
for a while, so.
All right.
They're a very
They're
reputable
trusted,
company.
yeah.
They
Yes,
are, but I
yeah.
just, you know what I mean, I just look at, once you've had somebody for so long, I don't wanna fall into that thing where,
Mhm.
oh, they're just gonna keep us, and,
Right.
you know what I mean, so I just.
Don't wanna be
make
taken for
sure-
granted.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's kind of
understood.
my,
I'm gonna hold on to that if I may, thank you. One other thing in regards to the system, if you will, is the software update issue. And Pat pointed me in the right direction. It was our meeting of October 30th, and Karen mentioned that we had experienced that issue with regards to the battery backups. And the computers had gone, well, the battery backups had failed, the computers had gone down. We recovered to some extent, but there was need for an upgrade.
Yep.
And she was going to house with HOWES, the folks that would be involved or had been involved in the past,
Yep.
and expected at that time that she would get a quote from them, and mentioned that it would be some expense, that it was not going to be cheap. I don't remember her exact wording.
2,500 was what it came to, but. Was it?
$2,250 what it came to. I did contact Mr. Cahill at House, whose signature is on the proposal, talked to him. He convinced me, and I didn't understand all of what was going on, frankly, but the system was not in any immediate danger. It was not going to melt down. We weren't going to have the 3 Mile Island recreation, anything of that sort, but that it would need to be done at some point. Ben has talked to them, and apparently Mr. Cahill's not available right now. Won't be until the 22nd, as I recall.
Next week, yeah, next
But
Tuesday.
I think it wise to go ahead with that and get that work done. Again, it has been pending now since the
Yeah.
end of October.
Yeah,
And,
and this week they had issues with automating the heat turn on and turn off. The heat did not turn on, and Renault could not access any of the controls because the computer wasn't working, which is what needs to be updated.
Oh, mhm.
So we've reached a glitch now, so.
And it's gonna get a lot colder before it gets any warmer, so.
And they can do it manually, but this is something that was,
So it'll be all set on the 22nd?
Well, he comes back.
Comes
He's
back.
away now. He comes back
Oh,
on the
okay.
22nd, and then
So
we'll
there's no
try to
appointment.
get him in
Okay.
at whatever time thereafter, so.
Okay.
We have a few days left to go, but that's something, again, that will need to be done, and I suspect that probably may need to be done again in the future. I don't think this software upgrade is forever.
What was the
No.
price of the software upgrade?
$2,250. I have a copy of that if you want to
yeah.
look at that. There was one thing, frankly, that was somewhat concerning, is in Ben's contact with House, apparently, they deferred to Mr. Cahill. Apparently, he is the expert.
He may know our system, that's the thing. and-
That may be.
He may be assigned to our library.
I'm hoping that he is not the one and only person in the world and isn't hit by a Budweiser truck tonight, and not available next week. But
Yeah, that's concerning.
that is a question that we may need to ask. That hopefully there's someone there, at least on an emergency basis, who
backup.
could fill in case something
Mhm.
did crash.
Mhm.
Again, I apologize, I kind of jumped ahead a bit in terms of the HVAC system, but given the weather, I think it's probably appropriate.
Back to the HVA system, and it's a computer glitch and all that. Do you remember, or do you know if Karen had access to that at home?
I don't think at home.
Because like, I know systems like that, it's, you get online
Well,
at
they
home
would, they
and you
would be
can do
able to
the.
do it, at House, we're able to access it,
Mhm.
you know, from their facility to make the changes, but they can't now because of, you know, where our computer was.
But I don't think Karen had home access.
No, she didn't,
She
but
didn't,
House
no.
did.
No, okay.
Or
All right,
Renault,
well, we're
one of them,
at their
yeah.
business location.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All righty. Again, facility issues, the light standard has been installed, and we're recovered from the first of the two accidents in terms of the bicycle stand. As I understood, conversation with Pam a week or so ago, we're still waiting on the shelving. I think February was
February
the
was the
target
last
date.
I heard,
I know, it seems like forever.
I know.
And when it does arrive, maybe that'll be worthy of a celebration. But the building is stable, it is recovered. The only thing that we did have experience with is a recent plumbing failure, which has been resolved. It's amazing what can happen, but we are recovered from that as well. We did have to close early that day. Okay, any questions regard to facility?
I just have a quick question.
Yep.
Is it normal for us to have to pay for software updates like that?
Well, I think there is be a cost associated with acquiring any software.
In this particular case, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because you think when you would buy a product, you wouldn't have to pay for.
It's not their product.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Sorry.
Good question. Moving along, any more questions with regards to facility? Okay. Staffing updates. Personnel board hiring process for the director. Several of us have been involved in a number of interviews now, and we have one more that is scheduled for the 29th of this month. It will be a second interview for one of the candidates that we have talked with. It's the 29th because this individual is traveling right now and not available, so.
Okay, so
She
that's
is-
a committed interview?
Please?
Is that she said
She's,
she
yes,
is available?
yes,
Okay.
yes. I
Six-
spoke with her
six
today and she
6:15.
is
Oh,
available.
okay.
I did send her a confirming email and hadn't received a response, but she is traveling, and spoke with her today, and she did acknowledge the email was in her queue. So, I asked if there anything changed or were any problems to let us know.
So that'll be the 29th at
29th.
6:15.
Right. And that would be in this room at 6:15, and that would be for the Board of Trustees. It would be really great if everyone were able to make that meeting. I think you'll find it
So this is the
well
second
worth your
interview
time.
for a candidate that the search committee is recommending.
Right. And the search committee was very positive in its recommendation and urged us to move on this quickly. Unfortunately, the 29th is as quick as we can, so please keep that date in mind if you could.
Sounds encouraging.
It, I
Hopefully
think
we won't have that
it was.
storm,
I asked Pat earlier, we are not posted at this time on any of the websites, okay.
I can send something over
I'm sorry?
Post it, what are you talking about? I missed.
for the Tuesday meeting, the 29th.
The job
The
sites.
20, oh, you're gonna post?
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
same as what I had posted in the past, so
Okay.
I don't really have to do anything except change the date.
Okay. Just wanna
And
know.
again, I tried to thank the board members earlier for their attendance at numerous meetings in the last couple of months or so, and also like to thank the search committee members who have given unselfishly of their time, and sometimes on rather short notice as well. Thank you to all those involved. Now we have, under staffing updates, average hours used by an interim office consultant, assistant and consultant, and I did circulate something.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
have it here.
made that
Okay.
side of the table.
Yeah.
And I draw your attention to the last two columns on the right. Again, this has been about as seamless as I could have imagined it being. I mean, if the plumbing had been a problem,
Yeah.
and the building were heating up a little faster, it's gone fairly well.
But the heating issue is resolved?
They're doing it manually, they're setting it
The
manually.
system does work. It does, the building is, I was in today, it was comfortable. I've been in a number of days, and it is comfortable. I don't think the patrons have complained or anyone that I'm aware of. Let's see, am I getting ahead of myself again? It looks like we've talked about HVAC system contract, information in regards to that. Something, again, still to be resolved when the new director comes on board, maybe more investigation there. Selectmen's meeting was held Monday, December 17th at the library. Pat?
Right, yep. There were 3 of us in the audience, not counting the chief of police, the fire chief,
They have
and
to
the
be there.
senator and representative, yes. It was, so I would say it was not.
It was a very quiet
Yes, it
meeting.
was a quiet meeting, and it was, there were parts of it that were lasting a little bit longer, when our political folks were at the hot seat. But, and other than the fact that we were introduced as the Dudley Municipal Library, it was pretty good, and I'm sure that's just because Dudley Municipal Complex is top of mind, but I did, at the end, I did give a plug to the Pearl L. Crawford Memorial Library, and also just let them know that we look forward to seeing all the selectmen visiting the library in this year. So, also told them that the previous concert that we had, the last with the Eileen Minogue, the Celtic harpist, we had close to 80 people in attendance, and they all kind of sat back and were shocked by that.
You
But
should consider booking here for their meetings.
yeah,
See if they can get the attendance.
I know. But yeah, she was great, and it was a great ending. Actually, we're going to have one more. One was canceled due to weather, and I can't remember his name right now, but it will be happening in March.
Yes.
So we will have an upcoming concert that was scheduled for last year.
Right, I do remember that, but I again don't remember his name.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
Mhm.
So it was a successful meeting at the Pearl L. Crawford
Mhm.
Memorial Library. Very good.
Were they out by 8?
A little after, just a little after.
Little after.
Yeah, Patty stayed and locked up, so.
Mention made of the politicians, and as I said, I was able to attend that meeting January 11th at the New Webster Library. Ben was also in attendance.
Yes.
And brought back a few things, just kind of circulate them.
Right.
One of them that was, I thought, very interesting is value of MLS services And I believe this is the value of the things that we have coming to us from other libraries. And Dudley was $85,482, which is a pretty substantial number, obviously, and ranks us ahead of, in terms of our usage of that program, of a number of local libraries in the area, such as Douglas and Sutton and Webster.
Does it list the time frame of when that data was collected?
This would be another good question. I'm assuming this would be for calendar year 2018. This is FY 2018 member value at a glance, so I assume that the second page is continuation of the same.
That's
So I
interesting.
pass some of these things around.
Yep.
The member of the legislature who was in attendance and part of our district was Senator Fatman. The others were representatives from other communities, but not representative of Dudley. Representative
Just saw
Durant,
this
I didn't
online
see, I
today.
believe he was coming, but I didn't see him. I don't know if he made that or not. I also made mention of a group that has been formed, Central Massachusetts Library Advocates, a voice for our communities. They have, again, at the same location, January 31st at the Gladys E. Kelly Public Library in Webster, a roundtable discussion that's going to be held. And this is apparently a relatively new group that's been formed. There is a membership form here if anyone cared to involve themselves. It's
What
a
was the
voice
date
for
of
our
that next
communities.
meeting?
This one is on
January
January 31st at 10 a.m. They describe these meetings are open to anyone who wishes to advocate for Central Mass libraries. We would love to hear your ideas and any needs you may have for your own library. So it's a little closer to home than it is Central Mass based. I can pass that around. I have a couple of those if anyone cares to look at them. And if anyone were interested, this is the program that was the order of events, if you will, for that date. It was very interesting. And they have a very large meeting room on one side of the building, and everyone was very comfortably accommodated.
Good. Yeah. I think they're worth going to.
Are you familiar with that group?
Not with that, no.
No? Again,
No,
it's,
I meant
think they're
just the
new.
legislative breakfast.
oh, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But the group sounded like it was relatively new.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
And I kind of took note of the fact that it is Central Mass-based as opposed to Massachusetts in its entirety. So
Yep.
it's a little more focused, if you will, on the area that we are located in. Okay. New business, town FY18 annual report.
Yes, I'm well underway with that, having that done, actually. There were a few things that I needed some assistance on, and I sent it over to Ben, and he's gonna work with Pam and Tasha in getting me the numbers that we need, but probably be done sometime next month. It's due in March.
Yeah, fortunate that we have you and your knowledge and experience with this available, because,
Well, most of the numbers come right from the ARIS report. That's why keeping the program numbers are so vital.
Right.
But, yeah, there were a few other things.
Is the-
Information from the Friends. too.
our current formatting issue making that more difficult than it would
No,
normally?
it will next year,
It will
unless
next
we
year.
change it, yeah, because this is for FY18,
Okay,
so.
all right, that's right, last year,
Mhm.
okay.
Which ended in June, June 30th, so.
June 30th, right. I know, I struggle frankly with that FY and the
Yeah.
calendar year issue, and I may still be writing 2018 on some things now.
Mhm.
Anyone, any questions in regards to any new business? Anything that we want to discuss further? Okay. Old business, lighting and barriers. Well, the lighting situation, I think, is resolved
Mhm.
finally. The barriers are still pending.
Mhm.
I think we generally recognize that there's a need to put something up there. And I do find that when I go somewhere, I tend to look at these kinds of things a little more often than I have in the
Too.
past. And I don't see a lot of them. I think I'd want to put too close to anything I was living in, at least. But they do serve a purpose.
Yeah.
And past history tells us we have a need. So we will have to move forward with that. Again, hopefully our new director will have some input there and maybe some experience.
Mhm.
Now, our next trustee meeting, well, that would be the 29th. And again, I would urge everyone to see if they could work that into your calendars, because I think we have
I think you'll be pleasantly
Please,
surprised.
yeah.
yeah.
Don't want to build expectations too high, but
Well,
mine are
here.
pretty much up here right now, so let's keep that in mind.
Well,
if
we
you
do, we do have another candidate,
Right.
potential candidate too, that
Mhm.
sent a resume in, so that might be a potential interview after that, if,
Would we want to try to do two on that same day, perhaps? And it would be a different interview, though, it would be the search.
that would be
committee.
late, yeah, that would be a search committee, so that would be a separate.
Yeah, that would have to be a separate day, so, we always have the option of trying to get a meeting in before the 29th. I don't know if we want to do that. We need just a little breathing space, you know.
I don't have a problem,
For trustees or search committee?
search
Well-
committee,
Okay.
yeah.
We do have another applicant whose resume came in today. So,
What's the date today?
today's the 17th.
Okay, so it's after the deadline.
Well, we did set it, I think we set it as
15th.
preference would be given to, or.
We don't know if it came in today or exactly.
Uh,
I see.
yeah, they are relayed to us by
Yep.
the person who works for the personnel
Right.
board, and that's not a dedicated individual, so there may have been a delay.
Yep.
And honestly, I
Do they
I
remember,
don't,
stamp-
I don't
Do
recall.
they stamp things?
It's
when
an
they
email,
receive?
so I'm
Oh,
not
I
sure,
see.
there's probably a date on the letter.
Mhm.
it was forwarded today, that much I do know.
Yep.
But I did our posting, I thought it read preference given to, or did it have a hard date? on it?
Initially it did, but then on the second one, I don't know. I
It
didn't-
said preference given to those who sent it.
Before the
Before the
15th.
15th.
So we didn't have a hard date, so that.
Then it says position open till filled.
Okay, all right, so, and this person did appear, at least in a quick glance at the resume and work experience, to have qualifications
Mhm.
that would be worthy of consideration. And although we do have a candidate that I think is a good
Coming back for
candidate,
the second interview, yeah.
we can't be certain, you know.
Yep.
We've had another instance where someone found another position, so
Yeah.
we have to have some assurance that there's something in the pipeline.
Exactly.
All right.
So would that be a potential of a week from today for a search
The
committee?
24th?
Mhm.
Yes, I would think so. I will see if I can get a hold of this individual and find out if their availability is such that we can do that. All right?
Okay.
Anything else that we need to bring up this evening? I guess not. That sounds of silence.
Yeah.
All right.
I make a motion to adjourn?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one ever opposed. Okay. Thank you. And again, thank you again for hanging in there, because this has been a process.
This is what we do.
That's what we do.
It's our job.